I'm Gable Collings, and this video is your guide to the global astrological events that will be at play during this year's summer solstice and what they mean for your manifestations. First things first, let's get a common misconception out of the way. The equinoxes and solstices are not astrological events. They only happen in astronomy. They are astronomical events. But they are still powerful energetic portals that definitely deserve to be celebrated. The summer solstice is the day of the year with the most sunlit hours, which is why it's traditionally celebrated as a time of abundance and gratitude. But astrologically, the equinoxes and the solstices don't actually exist. They just happen to line up with the days when the sun moves into a cardinal sign, and that's why there's that confusion. So the June solstice is the day that the sun moves into Cancer, which really isn't that important because that's a regular occurrence. It happens on a very regular schedule. The sun entering Cancer is only really worth noting if you have Cancer rising or planets in Cancer. And this year, the solstice happens on June 21st, which is actually the day before the sun enters Cancer. On June 22nd, the sun will join Mercury and Jupiter, which are already in Cancer, and those three planets will continue moving through this very emotional, intuitive, and nurturing sign until June 30th. And there are actually no major astrological events happening around the summer solstice this year. It's just not that important astrologically. But June 29th is. On June 29th, there's a lot shifting astrologically and energetically. So let's get into that. First of all, there will be a full moon on June 29th, and I don't normally mention the moon in my astrology forecast because it moves really quickly and the full moons only last a day, but I did want to mention this because there's so much happening on June 29th and this just adds to that intense energy. So what I've noticed is everyone experiences the full moon a little bit differently. Some people, like me, experience it as a lot of intense emotions and maybe even trouble sleeping. Like a lot of things are getting brought up and it can feel kind of heavy. But other people have told me that they experience it as like fresh start kind of energy and a boost of motivation. Like they're getting clarity, things are being released. So however you experience the full moon, that's just something to keep in mind, that's another energy that will be happening on this very important day. June 29th is also the day that Mars will enter Gemini, where it encourages teamwork, expression, and connection. And it also marks the beginning of an 11-day period with no planets in Earth signs. It's very rare for there to be no planets in any sign that correlates to each of the four elements at one time, but it's going to become more common over the next few years to have no planets in Earth signs because the outer planets are not in Earth signs. Right now, they're in Aquarius, Aries, and Gemini. If you want to understand what not having any planets in Earth signs might mean for you, think back to what was happening for you and what you were feeling in October and November of 2025, because that's the last time that we had no planets in Earth signs. So that will give you some sort of an indication of what you can expect this time around. When there are no planets in Earth signs, that represents a lack of practicality, materialism, and grounding in the collective consciousness. But that doesn't mean that you won't be able to get anything done or stick to your usual routines or interact with your tangible reality. You'll be able to continue on just like normal. But you might notice that it feels easier to get swept away by intense emotions or sudden impulses or to get stuck in old thought patterns. But the thing about these times when there are no planets in Earth signs, it's actually a really powerful manifestation portal because it allows you to see past the limits of your practical reality. It allows you to think beyond being realistic. And that is a really powerful thing for manifestation. It allows you to visualize the life that you want to live and what you want to accomplish using the power of your mind. It allows you to connect with the feeling of what you want to experience, which is the element of water. And it also allows you to connect with the passion and drive and the power of desire that is represented by the fire element. So basically what I'm saying here is that when there are no planets in earth signs, you are being given the opportunity to focus less on being practical, being realistic, and instead tap into the power of the other three elements, air, fire, and water, and use those elements to supercharge your manifestations. And the really big thing that's happening on June 29th is the beginning of the next Mercury retrograde period, which will be happening in Cancer, and it will be lasting until July 26th. Mercury retrograde encourages you to slow down and to disconnect from the hectic pace of hustle culture, that pressure that you feel to always be doing something productive, and like the rush of having responsibilities in every second of your day. And that's why a lot of people feel that Mercury retrograde is very difficult, and they've even come to fear it, is because we've been taught by society to just push through all the time, to just get on to the next thing, instead of taking time to slow down, connect with ourselves, and just be in the present moment. It's actually just an invitation to observe how you think, speak, and listen. That's all you need to focus on to have a better experience of Mercury retrograde. Really bring all your attention and awareness to how you think, speak, and listen, and small ways that you could improve that. Mercury retrograde can increase the chances of tech issues, misunderstandings, or delays, and that's why it's not a good time to be launching new things in your business, traveling long distances, making major decisions, buying new electronics. Keep your electronics backed up and updated throughout Mercury retrograde to hopefully avoid any issues, because it's more likely that if you have, for example, an old computer, it's more likely to crash. If you have a phone that you use to post on Instagram a lot, you might experience more glitches. If you are traveling, just keep in mind flights are more likely to be delayed. There's more likely to be misunderstandings with your hotel bookings. Those are just things that you need to keep in mind. Whatever you have going on this July, a really practical and beneficial place to focus during Mercury retrograde is on introspection, self-care, tapping into your own intuition, learning to trust yourself again, improving your communication skills, and also spending less time on your phone, spending less time in front of a screen, getting into offline hobbies, spending more time in nature. That's a really good one for this July Mercury retrograde period, because for everyone in the Northern Hemisphere, it's the height of summer. So you probably want to get outside more anyways, and Mercury retrograde is supporting you in doing that. And because this Mercury retrograde period is happening in Cancer, it will probably bring up your childhood experiences, like inner child wounds or traumatic situations that happened to you when you were a child. It could also bring your attention to how you want to improve your relationships with your loved ones. But actually, the best way to determine what you can expect from Mercury retrograde is to look at it from the perspective of your own birth chart. There are actually indicators in your birth chart that every Mercury retrograde period will feel more intense for you or easier for you. And also, depending on the Mercury retrograde period, you can determine which areas of life it's going to really bring your attention to and which parts of yourself it's really going to activate. So the best way that you can do this, you don't need to learn astrology in order to get this information. That's why there are professional astrologers like me, so that you can hire us and we can help translate the astrological information in a way that you can understand, without having to spend the years that we did studying it all. I actually have an offer available right now where you can get a mini reading with me that I'll just take a look at your birth chart and determine if this Mercury retrograde period is going to feel really intense for you or not, and which areas of life it's really going to activate for you. And you'll also get access to a lot of valuable resources that I've collected over the years that will help you bring more mindfulness and self-care into this Mercury retrograde period. And you can get all of that for only $30. So check the description box below for more details. One last thing I want to mention about this powerful astrology of the final days of June is that Jupiter will be entering Leo on July 1st. And this is worth noting because Jupiter typically only changes signs once a year. In Leo, Jupiter shines a spotlight on embodying your authentic self. It supports you in fully being who you are. It also supports you in prioritizing your creative expression and on tapping into the law of reciprocity. So that's the whole idea that whatever you put out into the world, you're going to receive more of. So with Jupiter in Leo, it's encouraging you to focus more on what's going right in your life, what you're capable of, which is a lot more than you're probably giving yourself credit for, and just what's going right in your life, what you're enjoying, what you want more of. Because when you put your attention there, what you focus on expands. You've probably heard that phrase before, and that's what Jupiter in Leo is all about. Why not focus on the positive? Why not focus on what you've achieved, how awesome you are, and the form of abundance, the forms of abundance that you want to manifest more of, because that's how you're going to get more of that good stuff. So if you want to learn more about what Jupiter in Leo means for the collective, and also more about all the major astrological events that are coming up throughout the rest of this year, I highly suggest that you get a copy of my 2026 Planetary Guidebook. It's a 76-page ebook that maps out all the details of the astrological events like Jupiter in Leo, all the Jupiter transits coming up in July, all the Mercury Retrograde periods, every time Mars changes signs, and you can get your copy of this value-packed ebook now for only $20. Again, the link is in the description. You can also check my bio for the link to get your copy right now. I hope this video has shown you that the solstices and the equinoxes are important energetic points in the cycle of the year, but they're not always important astrologically. Sometimes a random day at the very end of June can be packed full of more global energetic shifts. And I always recommend trusting yourself and your own experience more than anything you hear on the internet. Yes, even astrological information from a professional like me. So I want you to tell me in the comments below, what energy is coming up for you right now? What are you wanting to focus on? What manifestations do you want to supercharge with the energy of this solstice and this time coming up with no planets in Earth signs? And what are your fears and doubts or excitements about this upcoming Mercury retrograde period? I want to hear it all, so let me know in the comments. And while you're down there, like this video and subscribe to my channel if you are a creative, a visionary, or an entrepreneur who wants more practical astrological guidance and intentional living inspiration. Thank you so much for watching this video. May all of your solstice manifestations come true, and may you have an absolutely wonderful, magical, expansive summer. And I hope to see you back on my channel again soon.